Hi everyone, I'm Melisa Uchida,
And I'm Dagmar Bowman.
and we're here from Yoga Masters Academy. We're here today to talk to you teachers about injury prevention in our classes.
Exactly, because if you remember, the Yoga Sutra 216 said future suffering should be avoided.
Future suffering. Now, we all know that we want to teach a class that students enjoy and that they want to go to and that they feel really good afterwards. But there are a lot of postures that can really hurt, and we do so many repetitive movements that we could end up actually hurting a student and not even realizing it.
So, in terms of injuries to the neck, to the shoulders, to the wrists, to the hips, to the feet, you probably all have heard of somebody getting injured in a yoga class. And yet, here we think yoga is solving people's problems, not creating them. So today we have 5 suggestions for you how to lead safe classes.
The first one is breath. So with Sthira Sukha Asanam, we really want steadiness and ease within the practice. And that means to encourage your students to be breathing in and out through the nose. And if a student is not breathing, that's a good indication to you that they're working too hard.
So the breath can be your litmus test. So then as a teacher, you can also use number 2, language, the way that you talk and encourage people to feel in their poses rather than demanding a particular execution in deepening the pose or asking for a full expression of the pose. So if your language changes to being inquisitive, asking whether people feel or where they might feel something, that allows them to recognize that they need to focus on their own practice and not create a shape that might not be the right shape for their body.
Yeah, a lot of times too, if someone is used to taking an exercise class, whether it's a spin class or something, you use words like harder, deeper, faster, push. All of those kinds of words are too aggressive for the yoga practice. We want to invite, we want to welcome, we want to listen, and it really is about getting the student to find out for themselves really what the right shape is. I also find, and maybe you could relate, but that there would be this, oh, I need them to look like this. You know, that there's one yoga shape. So if you take a warrior 2, everyone's going to look the same in a warrior 2. And that's just not the way that we want to be teaching, because we all have different shapes.
And we should encourage people to find the right pose for them. I oftentimes say, there is a pose for everybody, but not everybody has to fit in a particular pose.
Yeah, so the more that you can play around with language and use inviting language or soft language, that will encourage your students to find the right shape that's for them. And also as a teacher saying, oh, I accept where everyone is, no matter that, it doesn't matter what the end shape of the pose is. It's really about the journey of self-discovery that happens when we're on our yoga mat.
100%. And on that journey, if we're rushing, we don't have the time to really acknowledge and realize where we are at. So it's a little bit like you're driving your car at 85 miles an hour, and everything else just passes by you so quickly, you don't see the individual trees. And that leads us to our suggestion number 3.
Pace. The pace of your class. How quickly or how slowly are you teaching your class, and what does that mean for your students? You know, I remember teaching a Mysore class. This must have been over 10 years ago, and it was a Mysore class that was sort of it was a partially led, so it was just cueing the breath. But there would always be the students who wanted to go first, who wanted to be like, it was almost like there was a silent race for who could get through the sun salutations the fastest or something. Well, it's all about mindfulness. So we can easily teach too quickly, and that hurts our students. Oh, you know what else I noticed? It's a funny kind of thing you don't really think about, but how much caffeine someone drinks before teaching,
Mm,
that can really have a big impact on their teaching.
on their pacing. Hmm.
So I noticed that if I would have too much caffeine, if I now I'm 1 cup of coffee a day, if I had too much coffee, my pace would be a lot faster. And if I had 1 cup of coffee or no coffee when I switched to tea, that it was a very different feel to the class.
Also, the music that you choose has an effect on how quickly you teach. So if you have a fast beat soundtrack in the background, you that will pick up the pace in which you teach. So if you know that you're already going fast and today is a day that you want to slow everything down, choose your music wisely or don't use music at all.
Yeah, not using music at all is really good, I think, for a lot of new teachers, so that you can just find your own rhythm without relying on the music to keep your momentum or to set the pace for you. Something else with pace, um, I'll come back, I'll find it.
Well, awareness is our suggestion number 4, and it also has something to do with pace, doesn't it? Because if we're rushing too quickly, then we're always thinking as instructors or teachers, we think about what's next, instead of being aware of what is in front of us. So to teach a safe class as an aware instructor, that means that we need to look up and look around and see what's going on in the classroom and notice whether people are in an alignment that jeopardizes their knees or their shoulders and help them correct that. So from a point of the teacher, know your anatomy, know what is a hyperextension, know where the head needs to be in relationship to the shoulders to keep the neck safe. Know when to say, do not put anything underneath your head before you elevate your hips into a shoulder bridge. So it's that awareness when you look around in the room and be informed by what you see to help people avoid getting injured.
Yeah, with awareness and knowing the anatomy, knowing the general guidelines for what the alignment should be, because we're not looking for a perfect pose, but we want people to fall within guidelines that keep you safe. And then what I also found to be helpful is to record myself practicing so that I could see where I was misaligned, because it's hard for us to be able to tell unless you have a teacher that's helping you, and hopefully you do. As a yoga teacher, we all need our own teachers also, right? To help us be able to see and feel what that pose we want our students to be able to feel, so that we can cue to that.
Yeah. And that cueing also encourages mindfulness on the part of the student. So this is our tip number 5. Encourage that internal inquisition. So what is yoga if it's not an invitation to pay attention, to be the silent witness, to see what's going on and listen to your own self. Your body is going to inform you. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right. If you feel a sharp shooting pain, maybe you need to back out of there. But if you are as a student, if you're so focused on just doing right by the instructor, or figuring that you have to look like the model on the cover of Yoga magazine, then that is the first step into a problem.
I noticed that we stop listening to our bodies from a young age, and I noticed this with my teenage daughters when they entered middle school, is that they would wait out at the bus stop with no jacket, in snow, and I'm like, you need a jacket? No, I'm fine. Because middle schoolers don't wear jackets to school, they just wear sweatshirts. And I was like, wow, they learn that so early, to simply ignore the body when you have to go to the bathroom, when you're cold, when you're too hot. It's so think, as a yoga teacher, now you are teaching adults how to open up again and to listen to their bodies. Oh, wait a second, that's a signal that I'm tired. Oh, wait a second, that's a signal that might not feel good. That's a little twinge in my knee. Maybe I need to listen to that. Or that's a little twinge in my back. Maybe I need to listen to that, rather than forcing to stay in it or to move deeper into it, or simply going, I'm just going to ignore it, I'm just going to work through it. You know, that's kind of, think of that as like a younger way of working with the body. And now as a mature yoga teacher, you really want to encourage students to take the time to listen to their bodies, and then to respect and take action on it and go, oh, wait a second, you know what? Child's pose is perfect for me right now.
So there you have it. Sometimes I just say, do it like this and do it like that, and see which feels better. And so giving options as a teacher, so your students feel ownership in the decision making to make themselves feel good.
Yeah, and always remember that our role as yoga teachers is to provide safe space for our students. And we're providing safe space in terms of the room that they're in terms of themselves, in their own bodies, in their practice, in terms of our interaction with them. And so at the end of the day, if we can encourage students to really be responsible for their own bodies and start to open up to their magnificent bodies, and to listen to that, then everything will be okay. Thanks so much for being here today. Till
Take care.
next time.